Welcome to this Behind the Board on mixing guitar with an aux bus. We're going to be doing pretty much what we did with those drums, where we started consolidating the sounds into a stereo bus at the end. So when we made that drum bus at the end, that's what we're going to do with the guitars too. We're going to make a guitar bus and make sure that everything in there is nice and controlled and start working it that way. So go down, click on where it says harmonics, and go to track, new, and open up a stereo aux track. You could open it in samples and press create. We only need one. We're going to label it guitar. I'm just labeling it GTR, shorthand for guitar. Let's set its input. We'll go to buses and it will be 7 and 8. So bus 7 and 8 is going in there. And now I'm going to send everything in there except for the bass. I don't want the bass in my guitar bus at all. I want to be able to affect the EQ and the compression on the bass completely separately from my guitar. So I'm not going to put it in there. So what I did was click on harmonics, pressed shift. I clicked on guitar left. So I highlighted everything and I pressed shift and my alt option key. And I'm just going to change this one to a bus 7/8, and that will change all of them to bus 7/8. Accidentally clicked that on. This will change all of them to bus 7/8, which means we're being bussed out. Remember, it's always ins over outs, so our outs are going bus 7/8, and we go down to the bottom and we see our in is bus 7/8. So everything is going to this guitar bus now. Let's throw an EQ on it and get it sounding nice. So here we go with an EQ 7 band, and this is where you make all your big adjustments if you wanted to add a little more high end or something like that. I didn't really have much in mind for what I wanted to add in here, so I'm going to listen to it a little bit and start getting a vibe for if I want to make any real adjustments to the EQ. If the EQ is nice, you really don't have to do this. You could leave the EQ the way it is, but it's just really simple now. If we get to in the position where we're mixing and the guitars are just not popping out enough and you're like, hey, I want to add some high end to the guitars, just go right to this guitar bus and add some high end rather than go into each one of them and start adjusting their individual settings. You could create a real mess that way. All the work you started doing might start to get undone. You don't want that at all. So let's start listening and see if we want to add anything here. So I added a little more body into it and took out some of the mids. So it's really some of the low mid frequency I added back in, and some of that real mid frequency stuff I took out a little bit. And you can make adjustments as you're feeling this, because these adjustments might not be my last ones on the guitars, but this is what I was feeling to begin with. I needed a little more body during that clean guitar part. I had some nice depth, but I wanted to really feel it a little more. So I added in a little bit of that low mid, and I didn't want it to be that sharp sounding, so I took out some of the actual mids. So there we go with our EQ on that bus. Now let's go into our compression on that bus. So multi-channel plug in dynamics and head right down to your Dynamic 3 compressor. And if you want to mess around and try it on the BF76 or one of the other compressors, you're welcome to do that too, but we're just going to work off this dynamic one for now. So here we are. Let's see if they have a guitar bus for us. And if I remember right, they did not. So we'll wind up making one from scratch. But remember that these things are here to help guide you. Anytime you're really having trouble making a compression setting, you might want to start with one of theirs. So here we go with some guitar compression. We're going to leave it pretty light, and we're going to turn this knee up a little bit. I don't want it to be so sharp. I'm bringing it up to 15. And let's hear what we got working with. Let's hear what we're working with here. This compressor should not be going crazy because we have compression going on in every one of these tracks already. So now it's just tightening it up a little bit more. So it really shouldn't be going too nuts. You'll see these chorus guitars are very loud now, so that will make it go nuts. We'll have to take those down as we start getting levels. Yes, we're very loud there. So let's go ahead and start getting the levels a little bit so that we don't mess with this compressor too much here. At the beginning, we're going to leave our levels where they are. They're sounding pretty good. Let's just see how much louder this next section is. Good. So let's pull that down a bit. It's just way too much. I'm going to take those guitar left and guitar right down to -4. So -4 dBs for them. Let's go down even more than that, just a tiny bit to -6. If it'll move for me. There we go. Right around that -6 area. It's kind of a pain to match them on this laptop here, but we're real close. It's close enough. You can see we're getting similar compression on each part now because they're leveled out to each other. And it's not much compression at all. We could put some makeup gain in there. I don't think it's necessary. We're hardly ever even reaching -1 dB, so I'm not going to put the makeup gain in now. We'll worry about that later if it comes up that we want to compress a little more. But there we go with our mixing guitar aux bus. So let me just talk you through it one more time now that we did all the busing. Remember, our ins are over our outs, so our outs are going out 7, 8, and it's going into our guitar bus, which has an EQ and a compressor on it, and coming out 1, 2. So this is where we can control all the guitars at the same time, all the guitar volumes at the same time, everything. So if we get a guitar mix we like, and the drums are the guitars feel a little loud compared to the drums, we could go over here to this volume and just take the guitars right down, all of them equally, instead of having to try to figure out a new mix for it or bring it down in ratios or make a group and bring it down. We have it right here in our guitar aux track. All right, so thanks for being with me on this one, and I'll see you on the next one.